K-Wave 6 Radio and our host Kirk Spencer welcome you to our show bringing positive messages to today's world. And now, here's Kirk.
Hi, and welcome to K-Wave 6 Radio. Today my guest is Doug Hess from Indiana. He is a teacher and a professor at a university teaching business classes, which, as he says, that could be a little bit of anything and everything, from business to marketing to advertising, you name it, he does it. He is also the co-author of the book Gordon Gekko, Lessons from Wall Street for Winning Attitude. He's the co-author on this, but I had to ask him, is this a book based on truth, or is it just all on fiction? And as he will explain to us in our interview today, it's a combination of both. Because we all know that most people they would love to watch a Hollywood movie on it because it makes it come alive, but instead of watching a documentary, which is just telling you the straight truth. It's a combination of both. The truth from his experience and his co-author's experiences, and a little bit of, how we call it, writer's, there is an expression, I just lost it, writer's freedom, literary freedom, there you go. Anyway, without any further messing up, here is Doug Hess. Welcome to the program, Doug.
Well, thank you, Kurt, and thank you for having me on as a guest on your show. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's my honor. So tell us how you came. Well, let's back up here. Let's go a little bit further. Let's build up to how you actually came about to writing the book. So start someplace in your life that you feel is relevant. As we talked about it off air, this is a show to encourage people to see life as you lived it, and even the mistakes and how you got past them. As a matter of fact, why you ended up back in Indiana. Sure.
Well, I'll just kind of give you a quick, your listeners, a quick background of who I am. I originally was born and raised in Illinois, went to school, and I have to be honest with you, school was a struggle for me. School was not something that really came easy to me at all. And probably during one of, I don't even know if schools really have these in today's society, but I remember growing up, and when I was in grade school, my mother and father went to a teacher-parent conference, and I remember my mom coming home, and I have a twin sister, and so we were in the same grade, different classes, but in the same grade through all the way through. And my sister, everything came easy to her. She was very popular. Schoolwork just came easy to her. I struggled, whether it was reading or writing or whatever the case might be. I had to work for everything that I got. Wasn't a big fan of school. And I remember, and I don't remember exactly when it was, if it was the third grade or the fifth grade, it really doesn't matter. But I remember my mom coming home, and they would tell us what the teacher said, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, your sister, she's going to go to college one day, and she's going to have a great situation. And they were really trying to set my parents up, saying, with Doug, he'll probably graduate high school and then be a farmer or get a factory job, etc. And I'll be honest with you, Kirk, that was something that really lit a fire under me at that point. I'm not going to say from then on things were easy, but it was something that really motivated me, and it was something that, I'm sharing the story with you now, so it still sticks with me, and really was a chance to really motivate me. So, anyways, going on. I graduated high school. I ended up going to a college here in Indiana, and my sister decides to go to college too. And it's really interesting. Something really clicked with me in college. I don't know what it is, and I couldn't even tell the listeners what it was, but something really clicked with me in college, because my sister, she wanted to come home every weekend and kind of got homesick. with me, that's when I kind of bloomed and blossomed and really came out of my shell. And I can remember my parents would end up calling me and say, "You're coming home this weekend. We would like to see you." In a way, because I got involved. You know, when I was in high school, I was kind of like the wallflower, didn't really get involved in a lot of things, and my sister was the outgoing one. And then those roles reversed in college, and I was in all these different organizations. It's kind of like the world was presented to me outside of that small town where I grew up. And I think to some degree, my sister liked that, you know, where to me, I'm like, oh, this is a whole new world out here. There's a lot of different things. There's other things other than what was in town. And that was really something that really sparked something in me and really drove me to the point that I graduated with a bachelor's degree. I have a master's degree, something that, you know, a teacher said, Doug's probably going to be a farmer or working in a factory, which there's nothing wrong with that profession whatsoever. Sure. Absolutely. But it was something that just really kind of motivated me that said, I don't want to be labeled. I don't want somebody to tell me what I'm going to do. I'm going to be my own boss, if for a lack of a better word. Yeah. And I'm going to decide what I want to do. I don't want to be stereotyped. I don't want to be pigeonholed into a situation. And so, like I said, from there, was able to receive a master's degree, and now I teach here at college, at the college level as a professor, and very proud of the fact that I didn't let others hold me back.
Mm-hmm. I can actually hear it in your head going, I'm going to be a what? And you going to tell me what I'm going to... Oh, heck no.
Yeah. You know, absolutely. And it wasn't something that, you know, right away that kicked in. It was something that took some time to kick in, but I think it was something that was always in the back of my mind and really motivated me. I mean, I was bound and determined I was going to a college somewhere. I don't care if you know, it's kind of like the show Rudy, where he's begging to get into Notre Dame and pleading and stuff. But I knew I was going somewhere. I wasn't sure what, and the rest, I guess, is what they call history, if you will. But that really motivated me. That's what really sparked me, and I'm like that to this day. Tell me I can't do something, watch out. Even if I don't want to do it or have no desire to do it, and maybe that's why my wife goes around telling me I can't do this and that. She just wants me to do it. I don't know. Maybe it's
she knows how to push that button.
Yeah, absolutely.
I won't nag. I'll just tell him he can't, and he'll go do it anyway.
But you can't do those dishes. What?
I just had an interview not too long ago that it was almost a similar story. This woman was telling about how her brother, who was about 3 years older, was the one who was smart in school, and she always kind of envied him because he was the very studious one, the one that was, I couldn't say social because she didn't mention, at least not to my memory at this point, she didn't talk too much about the social aspect, but he was always with the GPA, the high GPA, and valedictorian, this and da. And she was just the average kid, and she focused more on athletics in school. And she's now 35, and she was telling me, she says, when she was about 22, she was on the phone talking to her brother, because they were always close. Sure. And they got into a conversation, and he was saying that he was envious of her. And she was telling him that she was envious of him. But they were envious of each other because he says, I was never good in athletics. I just went to where I was actually very good. I just went into studying. Now she has turned out to be an attorney, and he's continued on with his professional career, if you will. Sure. So it continued, but it was just, they came to terms with their understanding of each other, and just kind of like, they have, each one of us, basically what I'm just getting at here is, each of us has a role. And I had a cousin, or I have a cousin actually, when we were kids, she used to say that she was envious of me because things for me, like you're talking about your sisters, just seemed to come easy.
Yeah.
But she's the one who continued on and became a nurse and this and that, and I just kind of went the strange route. You know, everybody just looks at me from people I grew up with going, he's strange. But, okay, be that as it is. It's my life. I like the way Jimi Hendrix put it. It's my life, and ultimately, in the end, it is going to be me that dies. So in the interim, let me live my life my way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just go do your thing and enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then you're not living. You're just...
you're just there.
Yeah, you're existing. I guess that's one way to put it. I was thinking also of the word slave, because maybe you're being a slave to your community or to your beliefs or something, but you're not enjoying your life. And that's what life is about. Enjoying it and then taking that enjoyment and making something that actually benefits not only you, but others. So I think you reached that.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because I've always had a personal philosophy of my own is I'm the type of person that likes to kind of tinker or dabble into a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and, you know, my philosophy, and I've said this to people all the time, you know, when I'm dead and gone and I'm laying up there and people are walking by and they said, you know, what's Doug like? Well, he did a little bit of everything. You know, he experienced life. There's some things like, you know, writing a book, you know, I think it's on a lot of people's bucket list, but that's where it stays.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to go, you know what, darn it, this is probably going to hurt, and it's going to be a terrible experience, and I'm going to wish I'd never done it, but my God, I want to try it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of where I am, you know, with life, and that's something that we encourage our kids, you know, they're 9 and 4, and it's like, you know, guys, go out there and kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. Try every sport. Try every different type of club and organization, because you don't know what you're going to like or you're not going to like until you try it.
Yeah.
And if you find out football's not for you, or the chess club's not for you, or whatever, just don't do it next year. Mm-hmm. Okay, check it off the list. Get on down the road. Yeah. Or if you find that you really do like it, all right, now we can concentrate on something. And so don't limit yourself, I guess is something that I think we try to do in society. We try to limit and say, oh, you know, you can only be good at one or two things.
No.
Yeah. You know.
1 or 2,000, 1 or 2 million. Yeah, I can do that. But yeah. I'm not about limiting myself.
See, I'm not either. I want to, you know, now I'm not saying I'm good at everything that I try, but my God, I tried it.
Yeah.
You know, I've attempted it, and okay, yeah, I was terrible at it. And some other people that didn't try it, well, you know, you don't even have anything to judge from, you know, so don't judge me. Don't say that I was a failure when you didn't even have the courage to try it yourself.
Oh, you just hit one of those things that always gets me. But we're going to take a break here first. We're going to come back and continue with that. So, folks, stay with us. And my guest here, Doug Hess, the author of, and that's going to be a long title to do, but okay. Gordon Gekko, Lessons from Wall Street for a Winning Attitude. So we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Do you need a website or a webmaster for your business or hobby, a wordsmith for a research project, or for a script, an article, or even a language translator? Do you need an audio or visual project created or edited? Contact K-Wave 6 Productions at www.kwave6productions.tk for all of your website, writing, and audio and visual needs. Our rates are competitive and our services are excellent. That's K-Wave 6 Productions at www.kwave6productions.tk or email us at info@kwave6productions.tk.
Hey everybody, this is Jason Pockrant of Live to Give over at jasonpockrant.com, and you are listening to K-Wave 6 Radio.
Hi, and welcome back to K-Wave 6 Radio. My guest today is Doug Hess. And just before the break, we just kind of broke out into laughter, which kind of continued right during the break. There is something that Doug talked about, and for those of you who may listen to the show quite a bit, you understand that when my guest says something that resonates with me, it either makes me smile or makes me laugh, and he just kind of got into both right there. But what I was talking about, Doug, is that you were talking about the bucket list, you know. Mm-hmm. We make a list of things, and some of the things we never get down to doing. I had an expression when I was a kid, and now in my age I'm still living it, is that I always used to say, by the time I am too old to do anything, I would rather sit back and remember the things that I did. And, you know, whether they turned out to be great or not, I can sit back and go, I did this, and I did that, and I enjoyed it, and I wish I hadn't done that, but okay, I did, I've got the experience. Instead of sitting back and going, you know, I really wish I had done that, and I wish I had done... In other words, I want to have more great memories than sorrows.
Right.
So, yeah, we're talking about it just in a different... using different words, but it comes out to be the same.
Absolutely, and I think you're exactly right. That's exactly, you know, kind of like that philosophy I was telling about when I'm dead and gone. People go, you know what, Doug wasn't really good at anything, but he tried a lot of different things, and hopefully, and I find that's very valuable when I'm teaching and stuff, that I can bring things when I write the book. I can bring all this experience in, and I think it's easier to relate to people when you have a broad spectrum of experiences that you can bring to the table, and you bring value. You kind of bring that wisdom, going, you know what, I tried that once, didn't work out, but here's some things I would advise you not to try when you're doing this adventure. Mm-hmm. And so I think you bring value, and I think most people appreciate that. In terms of that, and you know, I like to think that I'm still quite young in the scheme of things. I don't know. We never know what tomorrow's going to bring. We're not promised tomorrow, and I just want to try to accomplish as much as I can while I'm here, and give it a whirl. You know, mm-hmm. It's like with this book. Am I going to be the next, what I call the Stephen King, where everybody knows my name and stuff like that? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, statistically, if you look at things, probably not. But that wasn't the point. You know, my point wasn't to be the most. You know, now if that happens along the way, I'm not going to turn that down by any means. Yeah. But I wanted to experience. I wanted to try it. I wanted to experience something new in that process and live. Mm-hmm. If I can use that word, is really live. Now, having written the book. There was days I wish I hadn't lived through that process, because that was a lot harder than I thought. But that's for another discussion. But yeah, just trying different things and giving it a whirl. And the other thing that I'm big into is networking, making contacts, because they can help you achieve some of those dreams and goals that are based off your bucket list.
Yeah, when you said that about networking, I had a different way of doing it, and it's just from my own experience. Sure. You're talking about experiences, is that when I was late teens, early 20s, when I was still living at home, just trying to figure out, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And I finally figured it out and left. But my mother, God bless her heart, she still is... she's one who cares a lot, but she also tends to nag a lot.
Yep.
And I'm one of those people who's just stop. And when you just continue, I just went into my room. I would put on my stereo headphones and I would listen to some music because really I wasn't that interested in TV. I had a few shows that I liked and that was it. But I would sit there and I'd listen to music or read or whatever, and then I would finally just get to a point where I'm just going, okay, and I turn off the radio, hang up the headphones, and I would literally say to myself, whether just silently or out loud, it's time to go make some friends. And that's exactly what I did. Jumped up, got in the car, went out and met somebody. Just started talking.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I'll share an experience that I had with my bucket list. I'm a kind of a little different. I'm a huge. My wife hates the fact that I love TV. I love the movies. I love that aspect. You know, I'm kind of a movie buff in terms of that. And we'll be watching. Well, as a matter of fact, we were watching a show last night, and she just turned it on out of the blue, and they happened to be on. And I said, "What movie is this?" And she showed me, and I go, "Oh, did you know that's based on a true story?" And she kind of looked at me, and she goes, "Who knows this kind of crap? Only you." And she goes, "Why?" And then I was explaining some different things more than what the movie goes in. She looked at me, she shook her head, and I go, "Wow," because that's me. I like to read. I like to do research. That's just what I do. I like to share things. Anyways, like I said, long story short, movie buff. And so out of the blue, I've always, one of my things on my bucket list was to either to be in a movie or to do something with movies. I know that sounds crazy, but that was on my bucket list. One day out of the blue, one of my fraternity brothers from college, hadn't talked to him in years, calls me up out of the blue and says, "Hey, Doug, I got something I want to discuss with you. Didn't know if you might be interested in." And make a long story short, he went on and is working in the film industry, and he said, "We're in the process of doing this movie, trying to get it done. Would you like to invest in it and be an executive producer in it?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes!" So I asked him to send me a copy of the manuscript, and I looked over it, and we talked, and anything. Anyways, to make a long story short, I became an executive producer on this movie. Now, it's not a movie that you saw on cinema in the movie. It was a short movie that went right to DVD, but it was really just an interesting process, something that I wanted to be a part of. And if it hadn't been for those connections, I wouldn't have been able to knock something else off my bucket list. And I would like to say that it was because of who I was or my name, but it was based on a connection.
Yeah. Well,
and so,
that's part of networking. That's getting out to know people, getting to meet people, just getting yourself known. All right. Now, I know that there's listeners out there, and I'm going to be one of those who's going, okay, you just can't tell me you were in a movie, you were the executive producer, and then it just went straight to DVD, which means, hey, I can go find that sucker. What's the name of it, Doug?
It's called Who's That Guy? Who's That Guy? And I'll just give you a quick tease synopsis. Basically, and again, it was a low-budget film, and I don't want to make it out to be anything bigger than it really is. By no means. If nothing else, it's more of a bragging right for myself to knock it off my bucket list and kind of go, I kind of cheated. It's off, You know, it wasn't Gone with the Wind, but at the same time, it's there. But it's called Who's That Guy? And it's about a film critic that is watching a movie, comes out of the movie theater, bumps into a guy, and thinks he knows him, but can't figure out who he is, and then spends the whole movie trying to figure out who's that guy.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's probably not something that is going to be the Oscar, burning thing, but it was a fun experience.
Well, first tries don't always work out. Sometimes they do, and just think about a lot of the cult classics that we think about these days. Yeah. Even the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah,
that was. They admit it was a cheaply done movie, and we did not expect it to become the classic that it has been.
Absolutely.
But it's out there, so you never know. You just put your heart and soul into something and have fun with it, and guess what?
Yeah, you never know.
You're sitting back later years going, man, I didn't expect that thing to go any further than and look at it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm under no illusion that that's what's going to happen with that movie, that it's going to be a cult classic and it's like secretly underworld, the hottest thing since sliced bread. We had fun with it. Like I said, I can knock it off my bucket list and I can say that I did it.
Yeah.
And that's all that really mattered to me in the process.
Yeah.
Again, it was another learning experience, and and every blue moon somebody will find out about it and they'll be interested in it, and it's sometimes it's just a nice little icebreaker. Not trying to pat yourself on the back, but sometimes you can connect with people over some of the strangest things, over little things.
Well, I'm going to throw this in only because it's actually relative to what we're talking about, and I'll make this extremely short. This is what the show's about you, so I don't want to take too much of time talking about me. But this is how I got into radio. For years, off and on, I had been working in radio and television, anything from executive producer down to just being an editor. Anything and everything in between, as I always jokingly say, everything but sweeping the floor. I didn't do that. It had nothing to do with television. And eventually, because of some negotiation that just didn't work out, everybody kept telling me through my life, you've got a radio voice, you've got a radio voice. And I'm going, what the heck does that mean? I don't like being in front of the camera. I don't want to be in front of the microphone. And I just went, what the heck, let's give it a try. So that's how I ended up with my own shows. So actually, it's beginning to work out in different ways too, but that's something for another time. So anyhow.
Like you said, sometimes you just never know what's going to fall in front of you. And I think there's two types of people. One that will pick the ball up and run with it, and others that will look at the ball and go, there's a catch. It's too good to be true. And just because you picked up the ball and run with it doesn't mean you're going to be successful. It just means you had the courage to give it a shot.
Yeah.
And I might take 2 steps and get tackled or fumble the ball and lose the game, but at least I was in the game.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. At least I was in the game. Perfect. Before we go into our break, tell us a little bit. We can always continue after the break if necessary, but tell us about your experience, as you're saying, with Wall Street, or at least that part of you that got written into the book.
Yeah, well, I've never worked on Wall Street. I've always done it from the academic side, from the teaching aspect of it, in terms of it. But really was a movie, Wall Street, was something that I've always loved. And I guess that's probably the business side of me loving that. And if your listeners remember about the movie, it's always about trying to get ahead and be successful and trying to compete. How can I be better than the next individual? And I think all of those aspects really touched me, spoke to me because of who I am. I'm a very competitive person, but at the same time, I'm a very laid-back, easy-going individual. People go, well, how can that be? It's just that when I want something, I want it, and I will motivate myself. I will find ways to try to achieve what it is that I want to achieve. And so those are different little aspects that we found in the movie that really spoke to us personally. And then what we did was we looked at, there's 8 chapters in the book, and we kind of picked out 8 different aspects from the movie that really meant something to us, and wrote those chapters based on that.
Okay. Sorry, I was just taking some notes because we're going to continue this after our break. So please, everyone, stay with us. That is Doug Hess and myself, and we'll continue this right after the break. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Doug Harold. You're listening to the K-Wave 6 Radio with my friend Kurt Spencer. I'm with Time and Eternity, timeandeternity.net. I'm really glad you're listening to the K-Wave 6 Radio.
Hi, this is Pat Kammer. I'm the author of Love's Voice Changes You, Book 1, and this is K-Wave 6 Radio.
Hi, this is Amy Young of JSJ Phone. We are providers of junior iPhone, iPad, iPod, also Samsung, Sony, Nokia parts and accessories at very good quality and low prices. We sell to individuals, and companies have 3 to 5 days delivery time by DHL or UPS. We do delivery in 24 hours after payment confirmed. For more information, see our website www.jsjphone.com www.jsjphone.com. Contact me Amy Young mailbox emy@jsjphone.com or by phone 0086 134 186969395 by Skype emy.yang2012.
Hi, this is Megan Serleski, author of Who Am I? How My Daughter Taught Me to Let Go and Live Again, and I am on K-Wave 6 Radio.
Hello and welcome back to K-Wave 6 Radio. Today our guest is Doug Hess, co-author of the book Gordon Gekko, Lessons from Wall Street for a Winning Attitude. Before we went into break, we were talking about Doug's competitive edge, and I told him I have a little surprise question, but it, of course, is nothing to embarrass anybody. The question I want to ask Doug is this. You're talking about you're highly competitive, but you're also laid back and relaxed, and I have a feeling you're just saying this in the same way I say it, but of course in different words. I am a competitive person myself, but I'm only competitive with myself. In other words, I just want to find out what my best is in any situation if I really am interested in it. If I'm not interested, you couldn't get me to be competitive with myself or even the closest ant. But I just found it, for me, I'm one of those that, and we'll let you run with this in just a moment, but I'm not one who... well, let's put it this way. High school sports, college, I didn't get into sports, but then again, I went to a college that didn't really get into sports anyway. But, yeah, well, yeah, it was all literary. So, for me in high school, I used to love playing football. I liked tackle football. I didn't like flag football. Flag football actually made me much angrier than having tackle football. Well, I mean, it's just a point of flag football is, you know, snatch the flag off of somebody and then always put their hands on you and all this kind of stuff. And There's one guy, he just kept nudging me, if you can use that expression. And I ended up standing up and I yelled at him in 4-letter words, and I don't mean love and hate.
Yeah.
And just told him, keep your hands off of me, basically. Because we hadn't even moved the ball yet. He's over here just, you know, he's just aggravating the heck out of me. Sure. And, you know, I'm in to have some fun here, and I don't really care too much about the winning or losing. It's just, as you said earlier, just being in the game.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to studying and to doing things, because I like swimming. That was one of my favorite things to do. My father used to call me a fish all the time. But it was a sport that I could do, and it was for me to excel, not for me to race or anything else. I wanted to dive. I learned how to dive. I wanted to become a lifeguard. I became a lifeguard. I became a water safety instructor. I did all this because it was a challenge for me, not to beat somebody else, because I care less. Nobody else was around for me to challenge. I didn't care about that kind of a challenge. But as you said, I want to be the best for me.
Sure.
So how do you relate that for yourself?
Yeah, I would say that I'm kind of both. I am not afraid to challenge myself and to push myself because I see maybe potential in myself or to be able to achieve something. I will push myself. But I have to tell you, I'm very competitive with others as if it means something to me. Now, if I have no true interest in it, it's more of an exercise. It's more of, hey, let's have fun, etc. But if it's something up there that maybe maybe I hold a grudge against somebody and I'm competing against them, now I'm out for blood. And that's not always a good thing. That's not always something that I can honestly say that is a quality that I like about myself. But I'm just very competitive by nature. I can be laid back, but if I have a dog in the fight, I'm out to win, whether it's a competition against others or if it's pushing myself. Now, if it's something, like I said, that I really don't have a dog in the fight and I really don't care, then I'm sitting back having fun. And, if somebody says, hey, Doug, I need help, I'm happy to help. But I don't have that passion. But, boy, if I have a dog in the fight, I want to win almost at all costs. And I use that word loosely, win at all costs. I mean, I'm not like Gordon Gekko that wants to, steal and cheat and stuff like that. But I want to win at all costs within the legal frame of the rules.
Yeah, or even with honor and respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like to think that I'm a good loser. If I lose fair and square, so be it. Shame on Doug Hess for not being better prepared or whatever that happens to be. Shame on me.
Mm-hmm.
But something that really ticks me off if you and I were competing and I knew and you knew that you were breaking the rules and I'm trying to compete within the confinements of the rules and you beat me, then you better not come over here and tell me that how much better you are than me, because it's like, really?
Yeah.
And we see that, we see that all the time. And that'll set me off more than anything. Is be like, oh yeah, Doug, I just beat you. And it's like, oh yeah, you wouldn't let me, use X, Y, and Z, but you had 3 of them. Yeah. Surprised you won. Wow, what a concept.
Actually, I think we're still very much alike. So yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, listening to you, I can actually relate to what you're saying. I still hold to, and probably some other people that know me much better will probably say, yeah, you're just like Doug, but okay, whatever. But
sure. Yeah.
It's, if I'm in it, I'm going to be in it. And if not, like you said, if I don't have a dog in it, it's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. I could usually a bystander and it doesn't bother me.
Yeah. So, let's get back into the book and because you told me that you and your co-author wrote the book because you saw the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas.
Yes.
And from your own experiences as a professor, as a teacher, and I would assume somewhere down the line working in that field of investments and whatnot, and judging from what I've learned from you and what I'm sure the listener has learned from listening to you so far is, yes, you're a competitive person, but you want to keep it all above board. If nothing else, you don't want something to come back and bite you in the tuchus later on in life.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
With that, tell us more about what inspired you to actually write or be a co-author in this book.
Sure, sure. Well, I'll just start by saying something I've already mentioned, that huge fan of the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas, and I've got a copy of the movie. And matter of fact, one year for Christmas, to a bunch of my colleagues, I went down to the local store and bought up copies of the movie Wall Street, and then I also went down to the bookstore and went out and bought Sun Tzu's Art of War, and packaged them together and sent them out as Christmas gifts one year. And everybody kind of got a big kick out of it, because everybody would tease me because I was constantly quoting the movie Wall Street, like, money never sleeps and stuff like that. And people knew that I was doing it for fun, and they got a nice little kick out of it. And so when I sent them that for Christmas, everybody had a good, nice little laugh with it. And so a few years later, I get a call out of the blue from Dave Bowman, who was a good friend of mine, not only a good friend, but also the co-author with me on this book. And he said, "Hey, Doug, I have an extra ticket to a Get Motivated seminar. Would you like to attend?" And I said, Dave, I would love to. What's Get Motivated seminar? What am I going to? I got a free ticket. Sounds great. What am I going to do? And he said, well, basically they're bringing all these national known individuals, and all they do is just speak to this group. And so it was over in Dayton, Ohio. So I drove over to Dayton, Ohio to meet Dave. And it's probably an arena that holds 10,000 people, I'm guessing. And wow. The day that we happened to be there, and we're way up there at the top, and the day that we're there, they had Rudy Giuliani, Bill Cosby, Colin Powell, Terry Bradshaw, Steve Forbes, all these nationally known individuals that people would recognize.
Yeah.
And their job was to spend 15, 20 minutes to get people motivated, tell a story, etc. And during the breaks, Dave and I would stand up and stretch our legs a little bit in between breaks. And I remember one time leaning over to Dave, and I said, Dave, I got this idea for a book on Wall Street. And I kind of told him my version of it. And I said, what do you think? And to this day, I still don't know if he was motivated by what I had to say, or if he was just caught up with the emotions that everybody else was feeling that day from getting motivated, because he won't tell me. So scratching my head going, is that a good thing or a bad thing, Dave? I don't know. So he goes, Doug, I think you got an idea there. And he said, you should go with it. So I have about a 3-hour drive home, and that was on a Thursday. And so I have a 3-hour drive home, and I'm thinking about it. And, of course, I'm coming off an emotional high, right? I'm at this place where you're supposed to be motivated, and I'm sure that if at lunchtime, if they say, all right, we're all going to run up to the top of the roof and jump, 10,000 people would have done it, because that was what they were trying to do for us. So I'm driving 3 hours home. I'm thinking, you know what? I need to do this. I've got to do this. I'm pumped up. Come home, go to bed. Next day I get up, and I'm here at the house, and that's on a Friday, and I go, you know what? I'm here by myself. I'm going to start looking at publishers. What does it take to write a book? And from what I found from doing my research is most of them said you needed one of 3 things. The final manuscript, which I didn't have. The first 3 chapters of the book, I didn't have that either, or a 300 to 500 word synopsis of the book. Didn't have any of that. So I spent some time coming up with a 300 to 500 word synopsis, and then I went back out later and sent it out to, 9 or 10 different publishers. And I have to be honest with you, Kurt, I really thought I was going to get what I refer to as the ding letter. Thank you, wish you well in your endeavor, but we're going to go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I didn't tell anybody. Didn't tell my wife, didn't tell Dave, didn't tell my parents, didn't tell my sister, didn't tell my friends, told nobody, because it was one of those things that I was coming off an emotional high, and I really thought I had to get it off my chest, and I could kind of save a little face by not telling anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, months goes by, I forget about it, and on a Friday out of the blue, I get a phone call from one of the publishers and said, hey, Doug, this is so-and-so, and just want to talk to you a little bit about the manuscript, or the 300 to 500 word synopsis you sent in. And at first I thought it was a joke. Somebody was trying to mess with me until I realized I hadn't told anybody. And so this must be legit. And I'm looking at the caller ID and go, I don't recognize that number. And so we start talking, and they said, hey, we like what we see so far. Can you send us a copy of your manuscript? And I said, that's going to be tough. And they said, well, if you're worried about us stealing your idea, we'll send you paper. And I go, no, you don't get it. And he goes, well, what's wrong? I said, I don't have a manuscript. He goes, well, Doug, that's fine. Send us your first 3 chapters. And I said, well, I think that's going to be tough too. And he said, why? And I told him the story, and he goes, well, what do you have? And I said, I think you just read it. And, and he said, well, how long is it going to take you? And I go, I don't know. I'm scratching my head. I'm passed out on the floor. I don't even know. I'm excited, all these. And he goes, I'll tell you what. He said, you send us the manuscript of the first 3 chapters of your book. We'll look at it. If we like it, we'll send you a contract. If not, we'll just go our separate ways. So I'm like, oh, you can't believe, this. And so I called my wife, and she was on her way home from work at the time. And I said, Mister, you're not going to believe what happened. I told her, and I don't think she even said a word because she was probably as stunned as I was. So I said, you know what, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, I'm going up to my office, and I'm going to start working on this thing. And so I get my cup of coffee and a notepad, and I march upstairs to my office, shut the door, and that's at 8 o'clock. And 11 o'clock, I come downstairs, and she's harassing me a little bit. She goes, hey, you get that book done? I go, no. Get that first 3 chapters? No. She goes, well, what'd you do up there for 3 hours? And I said, I think I wrote a half a page. Yeah. And she goes, a half a page in 3 hours? I'm like, honey, Hemingway, Shakespeare, none of these great authors were rushed. And you could just see her rolling her eyes, shaking her head, going, oh, my God, Mm-hmm. But that was tough. It was really a tough process. So this went on for about a month where I had writer's block. I had all these great ideas, but trying to get it from my head to paper was like pulling teeth. So I thought I'd be sneaky, and I called Dave, and I told him what happened. He goes, that's great. And I said, Dave, without you, this book would never come. I only feel right that I should bring you in on this. And he was excited. And later he found out that I had writer's block and needed help. And and so I said, I'm going to send you all my material. He goes, send me all your materials. He goes, I want about 3 weeks to write without us talking, so he can get his things on paper where I had on my paper, and then we'll start merging them later. And he said, send me everything you have. And I wanted to say, well, if you had a napkin, I could just dictate it to you right quick because, that's not going to be a very long file I'm sending to you. So about 3 weeks later, I call him up, and I said, well, Dave, what do you got? And he said, well, I think I wrote the other half of your paper. And so in about 6 weeks, we had 1 page written. Yeah. And so we were looking at each other going, oh, my God, we'll be dead, and those won't even have chapter 2 written. So we kind of settled down, and from there got into a groove and was able to really write the book. Very long process, something that I didn't think was ever going to end. But once we got into that groove, we gave them the 3 chapters. They liked it. They sent us a contract. We signed it, sent it back. We finished it, and the rest is history, as they say. It was able to get published. Great experience, and once we got the ball rolling, it kind of took a life of its own and became easier. Hardest part was getting started, though. Absolutely. Yeah.
We're going to take our break. We should have taken it about 2 minutes ago, but it was just got to be so interesting. Listen to you. I didn't want to interrupt the train of thought. So we're going to take our last break. So everyone, please stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to put an end to thinking about how you wish it were and take action? Take this step to find out more by going to coachingbyria.com. And you can receive your free consultation session with Coach Ria. Coach Ria is a certified professional life coach with a passion to help make the difference in the world.
Aloha! Aloha from Maui, Hawaii. This is Carrie Gray of My Green Insurance at mygreeninsurance.com. Thank you for joining us. We're the first co-op for alternative medicine health coverage. You're listening to us on kwave6radio.tk. Aloha!
Hi, and welcome back to K-Wave 6 Radio. We are here with my guest, Doug Hess, the co-author of Gordon Gekko, Lessons from Wall Street for Winning Attitude. Before the break, our last break here, I let him run a little longer because it was just so interesting listening to him talking about his subject matter. But we're going to get into, at this point, what Doug had, because we were talking about it before the show started. He wrote this book, or co-wrote this book, for the main purpose of the last 4 words in the title, for a winning attitude. Because, as he told me, the movie Wall Street with Michael Douglas, it was a very negative styled movie. It was just because the guy was just, I am going to get everything I want no matter what it takes to get there. So Doug wants to take a look at it, make us take a look at that from a positive point of view. And as you've heard from Doug, so far it's like he has a competitive nature, but it is one that is per se above reproach. In other words, I don't want to do every dirty little trick to get there. In other words, yes, I'll be competitive, but I'm going to do this by the rules and be above board where I don't make enemies along the way. So, Doug, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, when Dave and I were writing the book, and Kirk, as you had mentioned, we wanted to take the negative and turn it into a positive, and really focus on the positive aspects of it. And, so many times we handicap ourselves, I would argue, because it's not that we can't do something or we're not able to achieve X, Y, Z. We handicap ourselves because we don't prepare ourselves with the right attitude. And to be able to jump those hurdles or those obstacles that are in our way. And Dave and I would just argue that, half the battle is sometimes just coming into a situation, making sure that you have that right attitude, that right frame of mind in order to achieve whatever it is that you need to achieve. We talked a little bit about Dave and I with the book and how sometimes we wanted to bang our head against the wall because we had writer's block. And, basically what we were doing is we were kind of handicapping ourselves in the process, because instead of saying, we can do this, we're going to do this, let's figure out a way of doing it, we were the ones kind of had the bad attitude, if you will, and a lot of cases maybe putting those roadblocks up ourselves and kept us from achieving what we wanted to achieve. And so in order to get those creative juices flowing a little bit, really Dave and I had to kind of practice what we preach a little bit, change our attitude to be able to achieve and reflect the true direction and the spirit that we wanted to capture in this book.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about it before off air. Uh-huh. The woman I interviewed recently, her name is Belinda Farrell. She's also the author of Find Your Friggin' Joy. That's actually the name of her book.
I love it.
And that's what, matter of fact, I've been doing a lot of interviews with people who have a very strong spiritual side, not to be confused with religious side. And a lot of people are telling, and the message is that before you can change anybody or anything in the world, first you have to make the change within yourself. And I'm actually surprised but happy to hear what you just got through saying, even though that wasn't part of our interview. That was just a wonderful segue in there. Yeah, before you can actually talk about something different. As I always put it, somebody asks you for $5. Can you loan me $5? I don't have $5. Well, how can you loan what you don't have? How can you give what you don't have? How can you expect the world to be any different if you don't have what you want?
Right.
In others, will put it that way. So, yeah, you found the change within yourself first, and then you continued on with the book.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to sit here and make it sound like that was an easy change. Here's how I like to describe it. It's like at the beginning of every new year. Everybody has all these great New Year resolutions, right? Mm-hmm. And what's the most common that we hear? I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get into shape. And so you have all these gyms that, increase their membership tenfold around the first of the year, and then by February they're dark because nobody's in there. Mm-hmm. And it's a habit, What's the saying that it takes about 30 days or 6 weeks in order for somebody to change their habit into whether it's positive or negative, but to get into that routine. But it takes you only a few days to get out of that habit. Mm-hmm. In terms of, and that's what I would relate to, whether it's writing a book or exercising, is that so many times we get up against that hurdle or that obstacle, and we are willing to give up so quickly because it hurts, because it's tough, because we struggle. And what's sad is if we would just hold on for a little bit longer, then it becomes routine, and then it's second nature. And so that's something that we talk about in the book is, not to give up. It's going to be tough at the beginning, but we know that. And help is around the corner. Do you have what it takes to ride that horse all the way through, for lack of a better word, or a scenario? And I would say most of us don't. Now, the competitive side of me says, that's great. I'm glad people give up, because that makes my road that much easier. If instead of having to compete against 100 people, I only have to compete against 25. Well, for me as an individual, that's best, right? Mm-hmm. But what about the 75 that we lost along the way just because they thought it was a little too hard and they didn't see the big picture? They were only looking at the pain in the short term. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we talk about, and chapter number 1 we talk about is every dream has a price, and that's really breaking it down into sacrifices. What sacrifices are you willing to make in order to achieve your dream, your goal, whatever it happens to be? I think a lot of us know that there's going to be sacrifices, but we didn't realize how hard those sacrifices were going to be in order to achieve X, Y, Z that's going to be out there. This example that we give, I'll give quickly, that's from the book. We talk about maybe a single parent, maybe a single mother who's wanting to better her education for herself and her children so they can get a better job, maybe better living conditions, whatever the case might be. Flip side of that is short term. Maybe she's going to have to give up going to her children's basketball game, swimming, academics, etc., because she's going to either be in class or writing a paper, studying for a test. That's something that I can't really tell somebody to do. That's something only an individual themselves can really talk about and make that tough decision. But are you willing to pay that price, make that sacrifice short term in order to fulfill something long term? And that's a really tough question for a lot of people to answer, I feel.
Let me ask you something as we wind up this real quick, because I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm trying to pull it all together. We've talked about a lot of stuff here on this program today, on this episode. So let's see if we can pull this all together. You started out in school where everybody was thinking, okay, he's just going to be a farmer or a factory worker. But as you said, everybody's got to do something, and products don't show up on your shelves without somebody doing it. So there's nothing bad about being a farmer. Matter of fact, it's a very admirable field to be in, because right now everything wants to go GMO. So if you're an organic, then you may be a really valuable guy. Yeah. But, But it's a thing of, because many of us talk about this, and I didn't prep you for this question, but I want to see what yours going to say about it. You found within yourself this necessity to do something more. You wanted to be something different. You didn't want anybody, as you said, telling you what you were going to be in the future. That was your decision, and you made that decision.
Right.
Did you make the decisions that you have so far in your life because you enjoyed the field that you're in? First question.
Yes.
Do you like teaching? I know you like writing the book, and you came through some self-realization. Are these things that you enjoy doing?
Absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, I think I'd be lost if I wasn't doing it. And I know that kind of sounds a little crazy, but for me to teach, I think we throw this word around a lot, but I think it's true. We all want to be a lifelong learner. Some of us recognize it, and some of us do it, and we don't even know that we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But why I enjoy teaching is I love being in the classroom to share knowledge with others and to watch them grow. But I also like the fact that they challenge me, that I have to watch the news every day. I have to read the newspaper. I need to know what's going on in the world because I don't know at any given moment what somebody's going to raise their hand and go, hey, Doug, what about X? And how does that relate, or how does that affect us in the world today? And to be prepared to at least give my best attempt at answering that question, that could be the question that makes or breaks somebody that says, you know what, nobody really cares. Why am I here in school? And they don't follow up with their education or receive an education. Or maybe that answer sparks something to give somebody a little bit of hope or a little bit of direction, and that's all they needed was just a little bit of a push to that next level. And that's, to me, that's what I enjoy.
It sounds like something you learned from your own childhood, too.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I would argue that's a little bit of everybody. I can't even talk.
It's okay.
You know, you learn from your past, You know, one of the things I always talk about in our marketing classes that I have, especially if I have a bunch of females in the class, I'll say, what type of laundry detergent do you use? And they'll answer, and I'll say, why? And 9 times out of 10, what happens is they'll give me one or two answers. One, well, it's the cheapest thing, and I got to watch a budget. I go, okay. Or number 2, they go, well, that's the kind that my mom always used. And that's what I'm looking at, is that that's how we learn. Based on where we grew up, whether it's demographics, geographics, economics, etc., we learn from our surroundings in our environment.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like my ex-wife. I was trying to get her to try different laundry detergents, and she goes, listen, my mother used this, my grandmother used this, so if it's good enough for them, it was good enough for me. That was just her line right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so much for challenges, but at any rate.
Can't win them all.
Yeah. The other side that I want to get to, as we really need to close now, is that you're doing what you enjoy doing. The killing, not Achilles heel, but the thing that I want to bring up here is, because a lot of people think that they have to go do this occupation so they can have the money that they want or the prestige that they want. So what do you feel is the best motivator for any occupation? The drive is for money, or drive is for that self-satisfaction?
Well, I would always say that if you love what you're doing, the money will come.
There you go.
I mean, if you're really good at and love what you're doing, the money will come. In terms of that, I'll be honest with you. Teaching, am I a multimillionaire? No, I'm not. I'm not going to be millions, but that's not what I'm after with teaching. In terms of that, because not to get on my soapbox there a little bit, but you got to do what motivates and what you're passionate about. Because I could go out and let's say work on Wall Street, make lots and lots of money, but if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing and I'm miserable, then I'm just going to do enough to get by to get that paycheck.
Yeah.
But like for me teaching, I'm not necessarily making the big bucks, but you can ask my wife. I'm constantly watching. I'm reading. I have a huge library that I think she's going to burn one of these days. But adding to it, and I'm like, no. That I need that, and I'll reference something out of it from time to time. But I enjoy it. I love it, and I think if you do something that you love, others will find it, and it's contagious.
Yes,
I really believe that.
Yeah, and definitely have to close now, but the reason why I was asking that is one of the reasons is I read something not too long ago about a guy that loved whitewater rafting. And what he ended up doing was he found where he could have access to land, so now he has actually created his own whitewater rafting business. And basically the same thing as what you're saying is it's not necessarily for the money, but it's like it's the thing that gets me up every day. It makes me happy to do what I'm doing. So the whole idea in this is, from listening to Doug and others on this program, is learn to accept who you are, because even if it's just whitewater rafting, you're giving back to somebody. As Doug said, there's just that one time that you could say something to someone that could just push them right over the edge of going, I was thinking about this, and my teacher or my friend or this person I was just talking to just encouraged me to go do something really great in my life. So just go out there and be yourself and enjoy. Doug, thank you very much for being here on the program. We did go a little over time, but I wasn't about to cut you that short. So
well, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, definitely. And on air, I'll say this, you're welcome back to come back to the show anytime. Just let me know when you want, and who knows, maybe one of these days I'll give you a call back and we'll do it again. But speaking of which, I get some of my guests through radioguestlist.com, and as you can tell, there are some wonderful people that you can find through there. Matter of fact, great deal of the people I find through there, they end up being friends, not just a guest. Also, we want to remind you that you can find all of our podcast links and YouTube link on our homepage of our website, which is kwave6radio.tk. We have iTunes, podcast.com, Stitcher, RSS feed, and our YouTube channel. They're all computer and smartphone friendly. You can subscribe to all the podcasts. All of them are free, and you can download them from there as well, including from YouTube. And you can also follow us or subscribe to our blog free right there on the front page. You can also be active in our shows. If you have suggestions or questions for any of our guests, some of them are coming back soon, you can contact us through info@kwave6radio.tk, which is also on the contact page of our website. And also ask that you support our advertisers, which are on the website as well. With that, thank you very much for everybody for being here. Doug, thank you very much. It has definitely been a pleasure, and we're definitely looking forward to for you to come back in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, and everyone for listening, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Be well.
Thank you for being part of our audience. For more information about K-Wave 6 Radio and the services we offer, go to www.kwave6radio.tk. Have a wonderful day.